In a California DUI trial, the prosecution does not automatically call the arresting officer to testify. The officer is a witness, and like any witness, the prosecution decides whether to put them on the stand. That said, in most DUI cases the officer is the prosecution's most important witness, so they usually do appear. The arresting officer's testimony typically covers the traffic stop, their observations of the driver, field sobriety tests, and the breath or blood test process. Without that foundation, the prosecution often cannot properly introduce the chemical test results into evidence. So even though nothing legally forces the officer to testify, the case usually depends on it. Officers retire, transfer, fall ill, or are simply unavailable on the trial date. If that happens, the prosecution may ask for a continuance, meaning a delay to get the officer there. If the court denies a continuance and the officer stays absent, the prosecution may lack the evidence to proceed. Results vary case by case, and there is no promised result when an officer is unavailable. Under the Sixth Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, you have the right to confront the witnesses against you. That means if the prosecution does call the officer, your attorney has the right to cross-examine them. Cross-examination is where inconsistencies in the officer's report, training gaps, or procedural errors can be brought out in front of the jury. The arresting officer is not always the only officer involved. A separate officer may have administered the breath test, drawn blood, or processed evidence. California's Title 17 regulations govern how blood and breath tests must be collected and handled, and the prosecution may need testimony from each officer involved in that chain to show the rules were followed. A defense attorney will review the officer's police report, any body camera or dashcam footage, and prior testimony from that officer in other cases. If the officer's courtroom account differs from the written report, that inconsistency becomes part of your defense. Preparation before trial shapes how effective cross-examination can be. Understanding how officer testimony works gives you a clearer picture of what actually happens at a California DUI trial. I'm Joel Brand, a California DUI lawyer. This is general information, not legal advice. If you want a free written case analysis, it is at dui.guru.